Now, we have one more thing that we need to do. Is there going to be an end time Elijah?
Yes.
Yes, there is. The Elijah of the 1260 years is not the final Elijah. The conclusion of the story is still in the future. We know this for several reasons. At the end of the 1260 years, the civil powers mortally wounded Jezebel, but did not totally what? Annihilate her. Second, the daughters of Jezebel are still what? Alive and well. So they haven't been killed the way that we're told in the message to the church of Thyatira. Third, the great and terrible day of the Lord has not yet what? Come. And God promises to send Elijah before the great and terrible time of the Lord. And finally, God did not yet translate the church to heaven like He did Elijah. So are we to expect another Elijah? Yes. By the way, does the Old Testament tell us that there is going to be another Elijah? Yes. It says in Malachi chapter 4, and I'm not going to read this entire passage, Malachi chapter 4 verses 1 through 6, that the day is coming burning like an oven. The wicked will be stubble. They will be burnt up. Neither root nor branch will be left. Is this describing the coming of Christ? In fire? Yes. But what is He going to do before He comes? Let's notice let's go down here to verse 4. There are two individuals that are mentioned here. Remember the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded him in Horeb for all Israel with the statutes and judgments. So who is brought to view? Moses. Who else is brought to view? Behold, I will send you whom? Elijah the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. By the way, if you go to Revelation chapter 11, the two witnesses really are Moses and Elijah. The work that Moses and Elijah did. Because the witnesses turn water into blood. We're going to study this later on. Who turned water into blood? Moses. And they make fire come down from heaven. Who brought fire down from heaven? Elijah. So the mention of Moses has to do with God's commandments. The mention of Elijah means bringing God's people back to the roots to prepare for the coming of the Lord. Now, why will there be an end time Elijah? Well, because there's an end time Jezebel. If you have Jezebel, you have to have, Elijah too, right? And you have to have also Ahab, the kings of the earth, and you have to have the daughters, because they all are in the same story. They all work together. Now, Revelation 6, 9 through 11, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to finish this in this time period. We'll have to come back to it. But Revelation chapter 6, 9 through 11 is the fifth seal. The fourth seal represents the period of papal dominion. What did the papacy do with God's people? Slew God's people. So in the fifth seal, the souls that were slain under the fourth trumpet, under the fourth seal, what are they doing? They're crying out, Lord, until when? You can read this here. Until when do you not judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth? How long are you going to allow our blood to be shed? What is God's answer to them? Notice verse 11. Then a white robe was given to each of them, and it was said to them that they should rest a little while longer. So this first group of martyrs that were killed during the 1260 years, they're told, they cry out for justice, and God says to them, you're going to what? You're going to rest for a little while longer. But let me ask you, is there going to be another group of martyrs? Yes. It says, until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren who would be killed as they were was completed. So is there going to be a future group of martyrs? Yes, because the past group of martyrs cries out, God gives them a white robe. He says, you're safe, you're secure. You know, you're going to rest for a while until the rest of the martyrs die. When is it that the rest of martyrs are going to die? During that short time of trouble right before the close of probation. And who is going to be the protagonist that is going to encourage that? It is going to be a resurrected Roman Catholic papacy. And let's go here to Revelation 2, verse 22. Indeed, I will cast her into a sickbed. This is the fifth trumpet we're going to notice. The fifth trumpet is the deadly wound, the French Revolution, that makes the papacy inactive. So it says, indeed, I will cast her into a sickbed. That is this harlot Jezebel that worked during the 1260 years. And those who commit adultery or fornication with her, that is the kings of the earth, into great tribulation. That's the French Revolution, unless they repent of their deeds. Now, what does it mean to cast her into the sickbed? Well, notice what a very reputable lexicon says. Arndt and Gingrich, lexicon, page 436, explains that this means to lay someone in a sick bed, that is, to strike her with an illness. It gives Revelation 2:22, a lingering illness as what? As divine punishment. Was the papacy divinely punished? You better believe it. But what does Revelation 13, verse 3 have to say? The deadly wound is going to what? Heal. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world marveled and followed what? And followed the beast. Do you notice that the Elijah story broadens ever more? It's like throwing a pebble into a lake, and then you have the ripples that go wider and wider. Where does the first Elijah minister? In Israel. What about the second Elijah? In Western Europe. What about the last Elijah? In the world. Are you with me or not? Now, Revelation 12:17 describes end-time Elijah. The dragon was enraged with the woman. He went to make war with the rest of her offspring, or the remnant of her seed, I like better. And what do? They keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ, which is the spirit of prophecy. Let's read the paragraph at the top of page 141. After the 3.5 times, God raised up a people who keep the commandments of God, have the gift of prophecy, preach true worship to the Creator on His holy Sabbath, restore and proclaim the everlasting gospel, denounce Babylon, and lead the world to take a stand for the seal of God or the mark of the beast. This end-time Elijah will enlighten the world with a loud cry. As Elijah brought fire down from heaven, the entire Mount Carmel was illuminated when he gave his message. Who is that end-time remnant? That end-time remnant is the Seventh-day Adventist, the faithful in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I need to qualify that, because Ellen White states that the most of those who are in the church will eventually leave, sadly.